Tom, today we might lose half our audience.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that usually means it's a good episode, though. And how are you going to lose half of our audience?
Well, that's simple. Let's ask a question we'll answer in this episode. What if every James Bond villain started with a legitimate concern and simply chose the worst possible solution?
Okay, I'm preparing my rebuttal now.
Hi, this is Dan, and I say the greatest Bond villains are memorable because they begin with the truth, and they take it to an evil extreme. All right, so Tom, I'm going to ask you a question. What if the James Bond villains were right? Let's look at Goldfinger. What if he was right?
About what? About Gold killing everybody at Fort Knox? I mean, he did a lot of things in that movie. What do you mean he was right?
Yeah, not the murder part, the economics.
Uh-oh, where are you going with this?
What if Stromberg had a point?
About bringing civilization underwater?
No, about what humans are on land as being corrupt and doomed to self-destruction. And, well, he said, hey, I'm just accelerating the inevitable.
Okay, I think you've got my attention now. You got two things, Goldfinger and Stromberg. Still not quite sure where this is going, but go ahead.
All right, here's the mission. Here's the mission for today. We're not defending Bond villains. We're asking the question from the beginning. And it's a very uncomfortable question. What if every Bond villain started with a legitimate concern and simply chose the worst possible solution?
Okay.
All right. The secret formula of a great Bond villain: the greatest villains don't think they're evil. We're going to talk about why Bond villains endure, why Blofeld is remembered, why Goldfinger is, why Silva, why Le Chiffre, and a few others. And let's face it, there are weaker Bond movie villains and non-Bond movie villains too. So all of that is on the table here.
Okay, so what I think you're saying is a great villain doesn't just simply oppose the hero. He's got to have an idea, and he's got to represent that.
Yeah, exactly. So here's my theory. Most action movies are remembered because of the hero. Bond movies are remembered to a large part because of the villain.
Well, I think you're right. You know, we've talked about this in the past. The importance of a strong villain to a James Bond movie. People don't just remember the James Bond actor like Sean Connery. Yes, he's important, but he's the actor, not the character. Yeah. They remember Goldfinger, Blofeld, Oddjob, Jaws, Le Chiffre, Silva. I mean, the villain becomes a huge part of a movie's identity. And it's not just which actor's playing Bond or whatever hero. It's who's the villain and how are they as a villain.
All right, Bond villains last because they believe they are the hero. Weak villains know they're bad. Great villains think they're saving the world or executing on an idea that they have and that they believe in. So we will cover some of the villains, not all of them. Or you could just turn us on to New York and drive all the way to L.A. and we wouldn't be finished yet. So,
you're saying that would take a while. Okay.
That would take a while.
So let's shorten it up here. But we want a fair comparison on the villains and what makes the great ones right and great. So we're going to grade a few of these, looking at their motivation, whatever their real world idea is, their identity, their plan, and are they replaceable? And Dan, let's put this on a 5-point scale, 0 being low, 5 being high.
Now, I taught philosophy and logic for a while, so I was a tough grader. So we'll see how these villains do here. All right, let's get started with Goldfinger. Goldfinger understood economics.
No, Goldfinger understood greed. There's a huge difference there.
Then why does everyone buy gold when the economy crashes?
Because people panic. At the time of the movie, Nixon hadn't taken the U.S. off the gold standard. So this panic sort of makes sense.
Exactly. Goldfinger understood panic. I am creating economic chaos for profit. But he also believes gold should determine wealth. He has an economic worldview.
Okay, I can see that.
All right, good. So let's get into Goldfinger in our grading categories. What's his motivation? All right, Tom, I have to think that Goldfinger was pretty high in the scale of motivation. He planned everything to the last detail. He had patience in planning, then executing his plan. He had to get the mobsters involved, or at least get their gold. had to wait for a nuclear device to be able to radiate the gold, had to do away with many in the meantime, like Jill and Tilly Masterson, the mobsters, and more. He had great henchmen like Oddjob, who Goldfinger had very specific plans for. So, what do you think? I'm thinking Goldfinger aces this category and gets a 5.
Okay, so this category is motivation, and it would be hard to argue against that score given all we just said. But he didn't take care of Bond when he should have. He didn't realize Pussy switched sides. So I'm thinking maybe a 4.5, not a 5.
Okay, all right. Wow, all right. 5 from me, 4.5 from you. I thought I was the tough grader. All right, let's move on.
Okay, so now let's look at Goldfinger's real world idea. He has his finger on
our second category.
Yeah, our second category, the real world idea. Goldfinger has his finger on the pulse of the real world, and this is what makes him a great villain. We argued a minute ago about how he understood the economy of the world.
Yeah.
Gold was a treasured commodity in the world, and Goldfinger loved it. So his plan, the real plan, was to irradiate the gold in Fort Knox, rendering it useless for many years. And Goldfinger says 58 to be exact. Now, it is a real world problem, and that's pretty good. So for a real world idea, I'd give it a 5.
Wow. All right. So now you're giving him a 5. All right.
I'm giving him a 5 now.
This is all good, but Goldfinger.
There's a but.
Right. This is all good, but Goldfinger, though cocky, did not understand this irradiation process too well. Now, there's a short half-life involved here. The primary radioactive isotope produced from bombarding natural gold with neutrons is gold-198, which decays rapidly with a half-life of roughly 2.7 days. So the gold would be safe to handle, certainly, within a week. So he's not getting a 5 from me on this one. I'm going to give him a 4.5. I think that's pretty generous.
Okay, now you're being picky. Is the movie about educating the world about gold, or is it to show Goldfinger's plan? It's a movie, for goodness sake, Stan.
All right, let's get on with our third category, identity. Now, the Goldfinger identity, along with his henchman Oddjob, is premier. It is top of mind for any spy movie fan, from his clothing, always wearing something gold, to his witticism and demeanor and wickedness. He is up there with the best of the best in identity. So, boom, he's getting a 5.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this short. I'm going to match your 5 here. I just totally agree with you there.
All right.
All right, so let's move on to the next category, which is the plan.
Yeah.
And, well, we talked about his plan. It's a real-world one. He had ideas about radiating the gold that seemed better in the movie than in the novel. I mean, who was really going to remove all of that gold out of Fort Knox and move it across the country by rail, which is what the novel told us?
Yeah.
Goldfinger had all the details. He was an excellent planner, and he was willing to execute his plan no matter what. And so for planning, that gets very high marks for me, and I'm going to give him a 5.
All right. Other than not knowing the fundamental detail of his plan, that the gold would be manageable within a week, I think all else was pretty good. So I'm going to drop him here a little bit, but I'm going to drop him down to a 4. So there you go.
Yeah, okay. So, you talk about the irradiating the gold, but the whole environment would have been nuked. How long does it last everywhere else? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, they can wear hazmat suits for that, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to the last category that we're grading everybody on. Is Goldfinger replaceable? All right, this is pretty easy. Great villains are not really replaceable. Goldfinger is not replaceable. So he's getting an automatic 5 for me here.
Yeah, there's no gold members here. I mean,
no.
I'll give him a 5, but he's definitely copyable because a lot of his plans here we see in later James Bond movies.
All right, that's true. So let's add all of his numbers up, and Goldfinger's final composite grade is a 48. All right, that's pretty good out of 50.
Okay, so let's move on to Silva, right? Because I really like him, right, in Skyfall. Silva is not trying to destroy Britain. He's trying to destroy M.
Yeah.
That's his specific target and his reason to be. Destroy M. Revenge. And that personal motivation raises the stakes. It's beyond just an individual personal revenge. This revenge is going to affect many, many people. And so his message is that governments betray everyone, or at least anyone that it feels necessary to betray. What a shocking idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he isn't crazy, really. Somewhat, maybe, but he's right. MI6 did abandon him, and throughout history, governments have been questioned about their loyalty to the citizens, their agencies, and more. So, today, there is plenty of anti-government sentiment all over the world.
Yeah.
So Silva was right. But his decisions and conclusions are murderous. His premise is understandable. We see the roots of his revenge.
So let's get out our grade book for Silva, Dan.
All right, motivation, our first category. Well, I think when looking at what Silva has done in preparation for this revenge, how he has built his execution infrastructure, his planning to get M, and dedication to executing his plan, you have to think, okay, this villain is super motivated.
Oh, and pretty damn smart.
Yeah, Silva's drive to destroy M is singular, obsessive, and rooted in betrayal, not power or money. That puts him at the very top of the Bond villain motivations. So I'm thinking he's pretty good here. His entire mission is personal revenge, nothing else. Silva isn't trying to take over the world or profit. His goal is only to kill M because he believes she betrayed him by sacrificing him during his MI6 capture. Well, simple, straightforward. His revenge is fueled by deep emotional trauma from feeling abandoned and reshaped by MI6, symbolized in his rap monologue, where he describes being turned into a predator by betrayal. So his motivation is ferocious, intense, and personal. That makes him psychologically driven. So I would say Silva has to be on the 5 end of the scale here.
Yeah, I think he latches onto a normal human feeling, revenge. But unlike you or I, he's willing to do whatever he has to do to bring that revenge to fruition. In this case, against M, and also, I mean, MI6, he thinks he's going to take down with it, but M's his main target. And he executes this with absolutely no compassion, without a doubt, without question. So I think a 5 is absolutely earned here for motivation for Silva.
All right. Wow,
so
he's doing well.
He's doing well. So let's move on to his real world idea.
Okay.
And revenge is a pretty common human element, and Silva has, in his own mind, great reason to extract revenge. So yes, he has a real world idea for sure, but it takes it to the murder planning level, which is not so typical. But I would give him a 5 for having a real world idea. It's a little complex.
All right, a 5. All right, so Silva is into revenge big time, no question. He's willing to put his life on the line in order to accomplish his goals to kill him. My only gripe is that I think he lets his emotions get the better of him, and his uncaring sometimes is to his own detriment. And most people in the world would not go down that path.
Well, I know I wouldn't.
No, I mean, most people would. So because he's over the top kind of crazy here, I'm giving him a 4.5 here.
Okay, so
4.5.
Little bit of a difference. Okay.
Yeah. Let's look at identity. Well, Silva's got a pretty strong one here, right? Silva's a unique character in the Bond universe because of his passion for revenge and his willingness to die for it. He stands alone among a sea of villains. You know, most others don't want to die or are not willing to die. Well, Oddjob, but most.
Well, yeah, but Oddjob's a henchman like Jaws and the Spy Who Loved Me. These henchmen weren't. I see where you're going here, but the henchmen seem more willing to die than the villains in most of the Bond movies.
Yeah, they've recruited good henchmen then, I think. That's good. All right, so because Silva is unique for his evilness here, I'm giving him a 5.
And Silva consistently grabs our attention in Skyfall.
Yes.
And clearly, he is one of the best, if not the best thing about that movie. And he was one great addition to the Bond franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah, he really is Skyfall. He steals many scenes. All right, what's your grade for Silva's identity here, Tom?
Oh, I'm going to give him a 5 as well.
All right,
So
great.
So now let's look at his plan. he's developed one convoluted plan to take out M. And he's thought of everything. And he's willing to carry out this plan at all costs, including his own life.
Yeah.
And the number one reason he stands alone is he's the most personal, most obsessive, and really the only successful villain in Bond's history. He does take care of M. And his plan is singular and personal. This obsession is just totally encapsulating him. And he does succeed. So I think a 5 here, since his plan worked, is fair.
Yeah, all right. I have a little different take on this.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
I thought you might.
He's dedicated to his plan. And yeah, M does die, in fact. Mostly because of Bond's inability and poor planning to protect her, though, I think so.
Wow.
As opposed to Silva's plan.
Wow.
I mean, the fundamental core problem is Silva's plan requires impossible precision and not his precision. It would be okay if it was his precision, but Silva's plan is a reduction to the absurd. There's a long line of things that has to go exactly right for him to succeed.
Yeah, okay, well, give me a couple.
All right. He deliberately gets caught. He escapes
Okay.
at just the right time. He gets across London, finds the parliamentary meeting M is in, gets to the meeting right when M is testifying. Go figure that one out.
And that's good planning.
Yeah, and he gets very close to taking her out right then and there, but no, he doesn't. It's like...
Okay, Dan, you always tell me I need to have a willing suspension of disbelief when I watch a James Bond movie. Of course all of that can happen.
Yeah. And literally every single step along the path required perfect timing, and timing that Silva himself could not guarantee or be assured of in any way. Now, okay, he is a bit crazy, maybe. So he is willing to go forward with the plan, but as a plan, yikes, if Bond was a couple of minutes faster, someone a better shot, the hearing delayed, or M's testimony delayed, or even worse, was earlier than expected, the whole plan spirals down and out of control. So Silva, yeah.
I'm sure he had a backup.
Yeah, he's this great ex-MI6 agent. Well, geez, I mean, he could have killed him before the movie even started. I mean, come on, make a plan. No.
But then we wouldn't have seen his fantastic performance.
Yeah, right. No, he, like most Bond antagonists, had to build an elaborate scheme with lots of moving parts. Hell, be a sniper and scope her out and take her out when she comes out of the building. I mean, it's not like she's been locked up at MI6. He really is not outthinking his enemies or MI6 here. He's gambling that they will all make the choices he needs them to make. And that's a foolish gamble. So I'm being generous here and giving Silva a grade of 3.
Wow, I gave him a 5. You're giving him only a 3.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
Well, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
He is a 3. All right, let's move on. Is he replaceable? Okay, this is not as easy as Goldfinger. Great villains are not replaceable. I do like Silva as a great villain, so I am almost logically compelled to say he's not replaceable. But I think there are many scenarios that get played out here to get him, and he is at the very heart of it all. So Javier Bardem was terrific and not replaceable. The villain may be so, but not anybody but Javier Bardem playing him. So I'm going to give him a grade of 4 here.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Interesting logic. I mean, I think Silva, with all of his quirkiness and character flaws, was a great villain. I mean, he had this unique bundle of characteristics that we hadn't seen before. And yes, Bardem brings something very special to this character.
Yeah.
So the character himself isn't easily replaceable. So I'm disagreeing with you here, and I'm going with a 4.5.
All right. I can see your point on the uniqueness of his character, but I'm not changing my grade.
That's what you said to your students, too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's look at Silva's composite grade. He gets a, drum roll, a 46. Wow. Goldfinger got a 48. All right.
Okay, so Silva scores lower than Goldfinger, but he may be more psychologically interesting than Goldfinger was.
Yeah, maybe. All right. That's an important distinction. Best plan and best villain are not always the same thing. All right, let's get on to a really cool villain, Le Chiffre in Casino Royale from 2006. Now, Le Chiffre is not trying to conquer the Earth. He's trying to survive. So here's why we think Le Chiffre works. He cries blood. He's frightened. He loses. He's desperate. He's vulnerable. And that makes us wonder if his vulnerability will get the better of him. He is memorable for these reasons. Money laundering, terrorism, international finance, all that kind of stuff. It rolls up into a pretty good villain.
Well, he's not sitting in a volcano calmly planning global domination. I mean,
No.
This guy's in trouble before Bond even gets to the table. So He's already kind of scurrying here, trying to get things going.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost money that belongs to people who do not offer generous repayment terms, let's say.
Good way to put it.
He's trying to survive. He's desperate. He has made mistakes and miscalculations. That makes him human, greedy, but human. So,
yeah, I think he's probably the first Bond villain who feels, at least to me, like he could lose from the beginning. Some of these other ones, you weren't sure. This guy, you knew he was going to lose.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so we feel that, and we wait for it, actually. And so we're thinking, how is this going to happen? How will he lose? Will he lose? When? And who will help Bond? So I really like Le Chiffre, and he dominates in the novel and in the movie. He grabs your attention always. And Mads Mikkelsen, he was brilliant as Le Chiffre. I mean, the premise is simple, which I like. Le Chiffre's motivation is pure survival. He's lost enormous sums of money belonging to violent clients, quantum and terrorist groups, and must win it back before they kill him. This is not ideological or grandiose. It's desperation. So, all right, let's grade Le Chiffre in our 5 categories.
Okay, and we'll start with motivation.
Yeah.
Because this guy's mathematically very smart. He uses his mathematical genius to gamble, he shorts markets, and he manipulates the financial systems. And every move he makes is an attempt to avoid being caught and dealt with by the people whose money he mishandled, because that wouldn't go well for him.
No,
so he's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, which makes him seem highly motivated. He obviously has done similar things to this before, but this time he screwed up a bit. So for me, he has our attention. So I'm looking at a 4-5 here.
It's hard to argue that his motivation is high. I mean, solve his problem or die. Okay. So I'm going to be motivated about that. But his desperation...
that might focus you a little bit.
Yeah. But desperation makes him somewhat reckless.
Somewhat reckless?
Yeah. He takes risks that compound his losses. For example, the Skyfleet short sale failure. He has no loyalty from his employers. They don't have use for failures or those who fail. So you have to be right and successful all of the time in order to survive in Le Chiffre's world. Or his organization will simply kill him the moment he becomes useless to them. So you got a job for life. You just don't know how long you will be employed. It's good to have one for like
nice
that.
Nice little play on words there, Dan.
Yeah. So all that aside, his motivation is absolutely convincing, and I will see your 4.5, and I will raise it to a 5.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to his real-world idea.
All right.
He's modeled on real financial criminals who weaponize markets. I mean, this has been going on for decades.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember that Casino Royale was written in 1953. But even post 9/11, the short-selling schemes, it's still going on. In fact, just this last month, the AI-focused hedge fund situational awareness collapsed because of over-leverage. I'm not saying there's anything criminal in situational awareness, but these financial schemes can and do get a lot of people hurt.
Yeah.
And for Le Chiffre, it goes like this. He funds terrorism and then uses insider knowledge to short stocks of companies that he knows are about to be attacked.
Yeah.
And this mirrors real investigations into suspicious market activity around major terrorist events. And it also focuses on insider trading that goes on all of the time. So yes, he's grasping a real-world, underworld activity that continues to go on to this day. So his real-world idea is a solid 5.
Okay, all right. All that's true, real world stuff. But market
Another
manipulation.
but.
Market manipulation is extremely volatile. One failed attack, like Skyfleet, destroys the scheme and the cheat. Terrorist financiers are always under surveillance, making his operations extremely fragile and Le Chiffre very vulnerable. And he cozies up to violence to enforce financial deals, which increases risk, exposure, and danger. So that fits nicely into a package of real world dealings then and now. We cannot argue this is a crazy, I'm going to create a new world or universe idea. This is grounded. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. I'm giving him a 5.
All right, we're agreeing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can do it again. Let's talk about his identity.
All right.
Le Chiffre is a mathematical prodigy. He's a terrorist banker and a high-stakes gambler who's very sure of himself.
Yes,
so here's how it works for him. His genius allows him to calculate probabilities instantly, and he uses gambling as both a financial tool and psychological weapon. His physical traits of the bleeding eye and the inhaler and all that stuff reinforce his unsettling, anxious persona, which makes him more intriguing to us. To me, he's a really unique Bond antagonist, I think. So he gets a 5 because he's so unique.
All right. I see that, and I see some problems too.
Oh,
but his identity is entirely transactional. He's a loner. He has no real allies, no ideology, no protection really from what inevitably may happen to him. He will be hunted down and killed. His brilliance is undermined, I think, by emotional instability and fear. His eye bleeding, can be exploited, even if partially controlled. His cockiness and self-assuredness in the beginning of our exposure to Le Chiffre gives us a clue into his personality. This cockiness will be his downfall, but he does have a great identity. This is unlike anything we saw before. Of course, the book Casino Royale was out in 1953, as we said. The Casino Royale movie didn't come out until 2006. So we had seen many Bond villains already. And nonetheless, Le Chiffre stands out big time. So I'm giving him a 5 too.
For identity, all right. So let's talk about his plan.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really a simple one. He was going to recoup the lost terrorist funds by winning a massive poker game at Casino Royale.
How simple.
So, yeah, it's just simple. Yeah, I got no problem there. You get a bad beat sometimes, you know? So here's how it works for him. He short sells the Skyfleet stock using terrorist money.
Yeah.
And then he sabotages Skyfleet's prototype to crash the stock.
Nice.
But unfortunately for him, Bond stops the attack. So the prototype worked, and Le Chiffre loses the money. So he organizes, just like you and I would do, a $115 million poker game to win it all back.
Yeah, okay. It's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say that, you and I could do that easy, right, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Right, I'll check that box. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But you're going to win, so you're going to pay it back. All right, so he tortures Bond when the plan fails.
Yeah.
Right? And he loses. He has multiple plans. He has backup plans. The big problem is that he had to win that poker tournament. So I think because of that, and he was riding it all on him winning, I think for his plan, I'm only going to give him a 4. He had the right idea, but he was taking a huge risk that he was going to be able to win that tournament.
Yeah, okay, 4. Wow. All right. I see a few more problems here, really.
Okay.
The plan depends on perfect execution of terrorism and market timing again. Bond disrupts both the sabotage and the poker game. Even if Le Chiffre won, his employers might still kill him for gambling with their money. So while this may have worked for Le Chiffre many times before, relying on the same thing over and over again, to me, seems pretty risky. And he has to know that his organization would not stand for a loss.
I would think he would know that.
Yeah, I mean, his cockiness and overconfidence does him in. So I am not going to give him a lot of credit for the plan. For these reasons, I'm giving him a 3.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm dropping him.
All right. We both had him off the 5. So, all right. Now, that asks the next thing we grade on. Is Le Chiffre replaceable? And yeah, for me, absolutely. He's a middleman. He's not a mastermind. So, Quantum or Spectre uses him because he's useful, not loyal. When he fails, Mr. White kills him instantly. There's no hesitation, no ceremony. It's just brutal. Boom, you failed us, you're gone.
Yeah.
And his role as a financial manipulator can be filled by any competent criminal financier. So I think his lack of power means he can't negotiate or protect himself. His employers view him as disposable. So his entire arc shows how vulnerable he is within the criminal hierarchy. He has a questionable position, and really anybody could be in that position. So for me, is he replaceable? Yeah, he is. So I'm going to give him maybe a 2.
Oh, geez. All right. Yeah. Now, Tom. I don't know. I think
He's
the
totally
character.
replaceable.
I think the character is replaceable for sure. It could be replaced by some other numbers guy.
That's what I'm saying.
But Mads Mikkelsen as the character was hard to beat. So I think, yeah, you could have another character. The character would probably be the same kind of character, and we would probably want Mads Mikkelsen to play him. So I think, hey, no, he's not replaceable then, given all that. I'm giving him a high 5 here. High 5.
Okay.
All right. You're diminishing his overall composite grade now.
Yes, I
With
am.
that 2.
All right.
So Le Chiffre's composite grade, 43.5. Whoa. All right. All right. We got to talk about James Bond's ultimate nemesis.
Oh, who could that be, Dan?
His first name is Blow, and his last name is Feld.
Well, not exactly, but okay.
Right. All right. Yeah. Blofeld. We got to talk about Blofeld. There have been dozens.
Well, which one? Which one?
We're going to talk about the character, Blofeld.
Okay.
There have been dozens of evil masterminds, we know. But why is Blofeld important? Well, he's almost mythological when you look at it. The cat, the scar, the volcano, the white suits, the calm voice, consistently demanding and vicious when needed. He's instantly recognizable. Even Austin Powers parodied him.
How could he be instantly recognizable? He's changed faces many times.
Yeah, we know him, right? And so does Bond, by the way. He's pure evil. He's pure control. Everything must be organized. Everything must be perfect. He doesn't merely want power. He wants order. But yeah, power is a key too. So let's see how Blofeld does in our 5-point test.
All right. Well, as normal here, we'll start with motivation.
There you go. All right.
Throughout the James Bond franchise, Blofeld, played by several different actors, has always been steadfast in his motivation to accomplish whatever it is he sets out to accomplish. His motivation is second to none.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at From Russia with Love and Thunderball, he was played physically by Anthony Dawson with a face unseen, and he was voiced by Eric Pullman. And You Only Live Twice, he was played by Donald Pleasance. You've got to love that portrayal.
Yeah, I do.
And On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Telly Savalas.
Love
another
Telly,
great
actually.
portrayal. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Diamonds Are Forever, it was Charles Gray. And then the fake Blofeld in For Your Eyes Only.
The fake
Right.
Blofeld.
Well, they couldn't call him Blofeld.
Right, yeah.
Played physically by John Hollis and voiced by Robert Rietti. And of course, you've got Christoph Waltz in the last 2 Bond movies.
Yeah.
So we see that motivation right from the start in From Russia with Love. We see Blofeld's focus, his dedication, and it's just viciousness. And he's willing to stop at nothing in order to achieve his goal.
That's a good villain.
And he likes to intimidate his underlings so they obey his every command. All of this just to get the job done. So
Yeah.
obviously, I'm giving Blofeld a 5 in motivation.
Wow. 5. Well, look, I think it would be difficult to argue that Blofeld was not super motivated. You look at Thunderball, and we see again how focused he is on getting the nuclear weapons and blackmailing the world. Kill whoever he has to kill, eliminate the opposition, and get the job done. Now, you got to remember, Blofeld was number one at Spectre. So he created the rules of engagement. He didn't have to answer to anybody. He didn't report to anybody. He was the final word.
Kind of reminds me of a Mel Brooks line. It's good to be the king.
It's good to be king. Yeah. So, yeah, he gets an unequivocal 5 on motivation. Blofeld's motives shift across eras, but they consistently center on revenge, power, and global control. In the Craig era, his motivation becomes deeply personal, rooted in childhood resentment toward Bond and so on. I don't want to give him a 5 on that part, but overall, he's got to get a 5.
He was motivated even when his backstory fell apart there.
Yeah. Though I do think that his personal vendetta can overshadow his whole strategic plan and clarity and everything else. So when Blofeld has a deep-rooted emotional fixation on Bond, to me, that hurt his whole true motivation. I'm still going to give him a 5. His obsession is still there. So, all right, a 5. Oosh.
Okay, this next one might be a little harder to do because he had so many different ideas that we talk about.
Yeah.
And that is the real world idea. There's not just one here.
No, he's got a lot.
Because he's modeled on transnational criminal masterminds who use private networks, technology, and political destabilization, all to manipulate global events. And that certainly feels real to me.
Yeah, well.
Now, and the early versions of Blofeld mirrored Cold War fears. There was biological warfare, nuclear blackmail, and global extortion. The Craig-era Blofeld reflects modern anxieties of surveillance, digital control, and privatized intelligence networks. So we have a variety of approaches that Blofeld used throughout the series. Many were grounded in real-world anxieties and technologies. So I think, overall, Blofeld's going to score really high here, and I'm going to give him another 5.
Another 5.
I might be an easy grader.
Yeah, and real-world ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, a 5. Now, okay. I think there's some problems, though.
No, you would.
I mean, you look at it. Real-world criminal networks rarely sustain such centralized control as we see in Spectre. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's probably rare. Blofeld and Spectre rely on a massive global infrastructure that would naturally make you more vulnerable because of the large number of moving pieces you have in your organization. I always thought this about Spectre. One rogue agent, one turncoat, and there's trouble.
Yeah, but there's going to be a whole lot of trouble heaped on that one agent.
Sure, when they find it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can have that rogue agent, but they better not get caught.
Yeah. I think some of the concepts like getting the lectern from Russia with love, that's well grounded. The Allies in World War II fought hard to get their hands on the German decoder, the Enigma machine. Thunderball stealing nuclear weapons and holding the world at ransom was very real at the time and still is today. Heck, the United States military lost at least 6 nuclear or hydrogen weapons during the Cold War that were fundamentally never recovered. So stealing a couple in Thunderball was certainly real world.
Yeah.
And you have on Her Majesty's Secret Service with chemical warfare, basically, certainly grounded in the real world. Diamonds are forever. Space weapons were then and are now a great real danger. So overall, I think well grounded and a high grade. 5, yeah.
All right, so now let's get into identity, and this one's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Blofeld's identity is built on reinvention, intelligence, and the leadership of Spectre. He repeatedly changes his appearance, his persona, and operating style, which is a strategic tool for evasion and infiltration. At least we can say that.
Yeah.
And it isn't like James Bond didn't change his appearance, persona, and operational style with each new James Bond actor. So, why can't Blofeld do that here? And
all right.
And Blofeld actually probably had more reasons to be changing than James Bond did because he was doing something different. And if you think about what happened in Diamonds Are Forever, he created a second of himself.
Right? Yeah. He's trying.
Then we get to the Craig era, and his identity is reframed as Franz Oberhauser, Bond's resentful, adopted brother. Maybe I'll call him
half
an
brothers
issue.
or whatever they call it. I don't know. Adopted, I guess.
It was a real big issue for me.
Me too.
And I don't really mind Blofeld's focus and plans changing because the times changed, and that's part of his identity. But that whole Spectre mess, just ugh. And I actually dropped him down from a 5 to a 4 because of that garbage with Franz Oberhauser.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you for that. I think this constant reinvention can strain the organization and the loyalty of its members. That's key. Also, and I think this is a big one, Blofeld's personal fixation on James Bond brought out so poorly in Spectre with the whole crisis Oberhauser Blofeld scenario thing that you mentioned. And this whole adoptive brother thing, man, that was disgusting. That's a genuine identity crisis. And his dominant and almost mythic personality might invite this internal conflict. Why not? Because people are going to hate him,
Yeah.
and fear him and think, man, you got to take this out. There's things like that going on in the world today. So I think for his Spectre stuff, I lower his overall grade to 4. I'm going to agree with you. Otherwise, I think he'd be very strong.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to another area that I think is very strong for Blofeld, and that's his plan, or maybe I should say plans.
Because
the plans vary by era, but they share a common theme, which is global destabilization to force governments into submission. So in Thunderball, nuclear weapons were stolen and held the world for ransom.
Yeah.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service, biological warfare to sterilize world crops.
Good plan.
Diamonds Are Forever, diamond-powered orbital laser for nuclear blackmail.
Another good plan.
Spectre, digital surveillance monopoly and orchestrating Bond's past tragedies. Then we get No Time to Die with the psychological destruction of Bond's personal life. So I do like Blofeld's plans. He's got one. And it seems to be well thought out for each of these episodes. So I give Blofeld a very high grade here, and I'm going to give him a 5.
Yeah, it's good because I think he thinks big. You got to give him credit for that. Think big. Get up early, work hard, think big. And Blofeld does that. However, his plans often rely on an overly complex infrastructure. Bond repeatedly exploits single points of failure in the Blofeld universe. His schemes attract rival villains who can hijack his assets, like Safin did.
Yeah.
So Blofeld's plans in general, solid through the decades, and overall, they were intriguing plans. So I'm going to give him a generous 5 also, because I think, he's a good planner.
So wait, are you saying that you're going to generously give him a 5, or you think it's a big 5?
That's a good question, but I think I'm being a little generous giving him a 5.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure I understood what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to the last item for him.
Yeah.
Is Blofeld replaceable?
Yeah, okay.
And to me, not easily. I mean, he's the founder and leader of Spectre, the architect of its ideology and operations. The Craig era Blofeld was more replaceable and was kind of ultimately replaced by Safin. And then Spectre is a hierarchical organization. And leadership can shift. So for me, for replaceability, he's not replaceable. He's a number 5.
Yeah, I think for the Bond series, no. Yeah, Blofeld is not replaceable. I like the concept of this long-term antagonist, like Sherlock Holmes had Professor Moriarty. I liked it. Safin, however, demonstrates that Blofeld's network can be overtaken and weaponized against him. So, he was weak there. But overall, I'm giving him a 5.
All right.
Not replaceable, no.
Yeah, so that means that if we take the composite grades, Blofeld gets a 48 here, which ties him with Goldfinger.
Yeah, right. So the final grade in our 4 villains that we chose to dig into with this test, Goldfinger, total 48. Silva's total was 46. Le Chiffre's total, 43.5. Tom, you really blasted Le Chiffre on that one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Blofeld's score, 48. So Blofeld and Goldfinger, boom, right there. So
well, and I do have
enough.
to say, I really liked Le Chiffre, but his replaceability killed it for his point total.
Yeah. I disagreed with that. All right, so interestingly enough, Goldfinger and Blofeld tie. So, you agree with us out there? Let us know at facebook.com/Spy Movie Navigator. All right, now we know there are many, many villains you would like to see in this 5-point exam. But we picked out some of the top ones that we thought were some of the top ones. And we can do more if you want. But we have some lesser good villains that we won't cover with the 5-point test, but we wanted to mention and give them a little shout out here. Stromberg, for instance, in The Spy Who Loved Me. Stromberg was an observer first before being a bad man. He saw what he thought was a decadent and destructive world on the surface. The Spy Who Loved Me came out in 1977, and at that time, we were living through the Cold War and its effects. We had seen the space race, development of very sophisticated weapons that could knock the Earth off its axis, men on the moon, pollution. Stromberg believed that this human society living on the surface of Earth was corrupt and doomed to self-destruction. He says
so it was corrupt on top, so he was going to build a corrupt environment below.
Well, no, not in his mind. Tommy, they always think they're right. You see, people like
true.
this.
Everybody else is corrupt but me.
Yeah, he says literally, I'm merely accelerating the inevitable by creating a war between the superpowers. Get that over with so I can get on with my work under the sea. Now, Stromberg did have an obsession with the ocean, obviously. His Atlantis is a testimony to that. And given the choice, he would choose his underworld base and life to the surface and what mankind was doing up there. So, hey, why not start a global nuclear war so that you can restart humanity under the sea? It's utopia.
There's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think if Stromberg gave a TED talk today, people might applaud, at least for 10 minutes, while he's talking about what's going on the surface.
But his whole concept of I'm going to destroy civilization, I don't think that would play well for him or his plan.
Yeah, they wouldn't be applauding for long. I love The Spy Who Loved Me. It's a great movie. One of my favorites. But Stromberg's concept is so ridiculous that he is memorable as a villain. He's worried about what mankind is doing on the surface with all the stuff we had talked about and so on. And Stromberg had a problem.
Wait, only one? What's that?
Yeah, his retirement plan involved global nuclear war. I mean,
there's that.
That's not good. Yeah. Hey, Strommy, no worries, his goons say. Won't be any fallout.
Oh, jeez. You really
from
want
that? Yeah. From your little world under the sea nuclear war concept. Go ahead.
That might be a Mission Impossible fallout.
Yeah.
That was bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one we want to kind of briefly mention is Drax from Moonraker. Right. He's all about overpopulation, genetics, space colonization, all that kind of stuff. And we've seen this whole master race idea before in the real world, Hitler. So here it is again in 1979. In 1979, space was the final frontier, as Star Trek fans would tell you. So today we still have space stuff going on, but nothing like we saw in Moonraker or 2001: A Space Odyssey. We've got modern Mars missions. We've got the concept of satellite warfare. So it's still out there. It's just changed a little bit. But a guy like Drax could emerge. Look at the billionaires today who are creating the technology for space.
Yeah.
Elon Musk at SpaceX, Jeff Bezos at Blue Origin, or Richard Branson at Virgin Galactic. I mean, this stuff is real life stuff.
Yeah, that's going on.
And in the movies, think of the billionaire in the movie Contact. Yeah. S.R. Hayden, played by John Hurt. Drax was like them with vicious ideas.
Yeah. I think we've looked at some of the stronger villains. We're going to move on. Now, there's a couple of honorable mentions we want to give here, with no grading again, but there's some that deserve a call out.
Okay, and, I'm gonna bet that one of your big ones is Sanchez from License to Kill.
That's the first one I want to talk about, Tom, because License to Kill.
You love that. You love Frank Sanchez.
Me, I would have put him up there with these other guys too, because I think he deserves it. License to Kill, obviously, 1989. Drug cartels, narco states. License to Kill has this great villain, Frank Sanchez, played by Robert Davi, who we interviewed. Check out that talk with Robert Davi on our show. Fantastic. Well, I liked his goal. It was simple. I have a drug cartel. Leave me alone and let me run my empire. Of course, in the real world at that time, there were guys like Sanchez for real. Pretty clearly, Sanchez was seriously modeled on the Panamanian dictator, General Manuel Noriega, and there were probably elements of the Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar as well.
I don't hang around with drug lords often, so I'm not exactly sure where all the corollaries were.
Yeah. So Sanchez is pretty memorable. He had a great idea, was executing it, and understood his place in the world. Move drugs. That's all he wanted to do. Make millions. So he was right about the movement of drugs, of course, causing harm along the way with murder and drug addiction and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, right. Yeah, but he was right, but still wrong. Obviously, today there are drug issues.
Hey, Dan, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. A good, hey, I can say whatever I want, whatever I can think, whatever I want. All right. There are obviously drug issues today with many countries in the world, and many countries are dealing with and trying to control and deal with. So License to Kill was good, and Robert Davi was a great main antagonist that helps make him memorable and powerful. So,
oh yeah, I know, and I know how much you love him.
yeah.
All right, so then let's move on to Alec Trevelyan from GoldenEye.
That's another good one. That's a great one.
We'll go really quickly on this one. I mean, what drives him? Government betrayal, national identity, broken promises. I think Trevelyan as a villain was a very good villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like Silva, he had the MI6 background.
Yeah.
And in this movie, this is where Bond gets personal. Trevelyan isn't fighting Britain. He's fighting disappointment, disillusionment, and even personal loss.
Yeah.
I mean, for England, James? No. For me.
All right, you got Elliot Carver, too. Let's not forget him. Fake news, clickbait, algorithms, ratings, social media, all that kind of stuff. Carver predicted that information itself would become the weapon. So that alone puts him in a unique position. You got to remember, Marshall McLuhan in the 1960s wrote "The medium is the message." And then his concept focused on that the form of the communication technology shapes society more than the actual content inside it. So that was 1960s. And here we got Elliot Carver in Tomorrow Never Dies. That the medium can control what we think and how we think. You look at communist countries now who control the media so that their citizens only hear what is intended for them to hear about their government. You know, you got to wonder. And how much all governments may do that. We don't know.
Oh, yeah, exactly. All right, now, I'm looking at the list here, Dan, and we wrote down Safin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he gets an honorable mention, at least not in my mind. Yes, It was interesting, the whole concept of pandemics and DNA and biological weapons, but we had biological weapons in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I don't think he was a very strong villain in the vein of Bond villains, so I'm not sure we should keep him on our honorable mentions list.
Yeah, and he did circumvent Spectre and get to them, so I give him credit for that, but other than that, I thought he was pretty boring. So anyway, that's my opinion.
Well, all right, so most of these people we talked about were great Bond villains. Yeah. They all had a worldview. It might not always be a worldwide plot, and sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scaled down, but still, the villain has a worldwide view and knows where and how his or her plot fits in.
Yeah. Let's look at, just for contrast, at what many consider weaker villains. Now, we won't go through a whole grading system again, but this will give us a great reference point of comparison. So, for contrast, people always think the weak villain number one is Dominic Green.
Yeah, okay. You know, poor Dominic.
Yeah.
He had the misfortune of following Le Chiffre. Second, his part was done during the writer's strike, so there was a big problem there.
Yeah.
But he wants water, power, money. Mm-hmm. But what does he believe? Nothing but greed. To me, it's kind of weak.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Though sometimes I like villains who keep it simple. He wants water. Goldfinger wanted gold. Fran Sanchez wanted to control his drug empire. I'll say Dominic Green is dangerous, but he's not fascinating in any way. He's not multidimensional as we see in all these deeply developed villains that we know, that we've talked about. He cornered the water market for Bolivia, so congratulations to him for that. So he's an evil utility company. And, you know, how exciting is that? I don't know.
Boring.
Yeah. Come on, that's a funny line. He's basically an evil utility company. Yeah, that's good.
I didn't find that funny, so I'm sorry.
Oh, it's pretty damn funny. Are you kidding? All right, let's look at Gustav Graves.
Must we? Must
Yeah,
we?
come on.
Dan,
We're looking at
that's that movie I don't ever want to watch again in my life. Die Another Day. A weak villain in a weak movie.
Oh, wow. All right, he has a cool plane. He's got a cool weapon. He's got cool gadgets. And that suit he wears, that's pretty cool. I mean, come on.
I
Bad
still think the
dialogue.
best part of that movie were the hovercrafts.
Yeah, those are good. The first hovercraft chase ever. Come on. But, yeah, what philosophy does he represent? None. Maybe he wants more money, but you never get a feeling like you know what he is all about or what he thinks he stands for. Yeah, that whole dual identity twist, Moon, Graves, it's bold, it's out there. Many seem to think that was too much. I think it was too much. He's a charismatic public persona. He's got ambitions. He has this high concept plan. Icarus, that whole concept.
Yeah.
He
Woo.
certainly has strong thematic parallels to Bond, and that's true, which you got to give him credit for that. And his Ice Palace, I mean, that's visually memorable. That's pretty cool. But the whole movie has over-the-top sci-fi stuff that makes it, to me anyway, feel sometimes more like a comic book than espionage.
And I'm not a very big sci-fi fan, so when you throw that stuff in a Bond movie, I'm just kind of like, oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the Icarus plan is it's a fragile plan. Graves really is just some kind of rebranded soldier and not a top-tier Bond villain or anything like Blofeld. Nah. So, because our Graves, conceptually strong, unique identity, charismatic, yeah, sure. Ambitious, sure. But he's held back by this sci-fi crap.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's all we have to say there.
Yeah,
right.
That's enough.
Yeah. Now let's move on to another one who I really like the actor, and we interviewed him, and that's Christados in From Your Eyes Only.
Christados is fantastic. I love Christados.
He's an excellent criminal, but he's less memorable as a villain.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
He's just a traitor. He doesn't really seem to have this huge grand scheme or idea here.
Yeah.
Remember, one of our things we've been grading on have been on the ideas. And he doesn't have a grand idea. Right?
Yeah,
He's fine as a criminal. He does a good job there. But the other pieces of what we've been grading on are missing.
Yeah. I thought he was a great traitor. and a believable one. He knew what he wanted. He wanted to steal the British ATAC, the automatic targeting attack communicator, that whole device, and sell it to the Soviets, while at the same time increasing his criminal power over his day-to-day nemesis, rival, Milos Colombo, by framing him for this operation. So I think that's pretty clever, really. And it's simple. I like these simple concepts. So I like Christados.
Simple concepts for a simple man, Dan.
Well, whatever. I like Christados just the way he was portrayed, and Julian Glover was fantastic as the villain here. So check out our podcast with him. He is fascinating to talk to him, fascinating to listen to. Great guy. Right.
Okay,
right.
so the last villain that some people perceive as weak is Max Zorin. But people remember him. Right? He may have been a weak villain, but people remember him. And why? Because of Christopher Walken. I mean, he had this insanity, this charisma, exactly what Walken can portray so well. Any other actor, this would have been boring as anything. But with Christopher Walken, the character does work. He thrives on chaos, but he's not really a great villain in the way most people think of villains. It's really Goldfinger repackaged with Christopher Walken as Goldfinger.
Yeah, well, I liked Zorin as an evil genius because he had a simple plan to dominate the chip industry, and to wipe out Silicon Valley was a brilliant move. Walken as Zorin was captivating. He made you think, what will this guy do next? So I kind of liked that part. So anyway, I give him credit for that. Again, simple. I'm going to control the chip industry. Oh, okay. Go do that.
You're really liking things simple today, Dan.
I do. I like that. Now, there are many villains outside the Bond universe, too. We're not going to cover them. You can talk about Jack Ryan, Sean Miller, all these guys. We're not going to do that right now. But we could do that in another episode. Yeah, most villains we see only have a gun.
Yeah, but they never hit anything they aim at.
Right. Yeah, they're not very good shots.
No.
Now, weak villains ask, how can I beat the hero? A great villain asks, how can I change the world to my benefit. That's big thinking. That's good thinking.
And that's a huge differentiator.
Yeah, Goldfinger believes wealth creates power. Blofeld believes control creates order. Franz Sanchez just wants to control his drug empire. Silva, he believes betrayal deserves revenge. Le Chiffre, he believes survival justifies anything. Trevelyan believes countries betray their own heroes. Carver believes the information controls civilization. Drax believes humanity has failed evolution. Stromberg believes mankind's destroying the world. Boom! These are good villains.
Well, they've all got their ideas.
Yeah.
And Bond's job isn't simply just to stop them, regardless of what their idea was. He has to prove that their solution to these real problems that these villains are attacking here is morally bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a life lesson, too. I mean, it might be preaching to the real world that, hey, you are morally bankrupt thinking these things. Many weaker villains inside and outside the Bond franchise fail on one or more of the 5 tests that we measured the great villains by. So here's our final thought. I've thought about this, and I thought what's fascinating about all of the stuff we just talked about is that Bond never defeats ideas. He defeats extremism, which is at the heart of all the great villains.
Yeah, those villains all chose evil instead of solutions. They don't just challenge Bond physically. They challenge him philosophically.
Yeah.
During a 2-hour or maybe up to about a 3-hour movie, they make us wonder, what if these villains were right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something a forgettable villain can't do. You've got to be a strong villain to make us ask that question.
Yeah, and that's maybe why the greatest Bond villains never really disappear. Because every generation discovers their fears weren't entirely fictional.
That's true.
So until next time, don't just watch spy movies, discover them. This has been Dan.
And Tom.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. Subscribe to our podcast now. And remember, in espionage, trust no one except us.
Thanks for listening.